Good afternoon, colleagues. Welcome back to Ottawa for this meeting of the Foreign Affairs and International Development Committee under Standing Order 1064. Today's meeting is to discuss a motion on the state of Canada-China relations and a request to receive a briefing from our ambassador to China, John McCallum. We're obviously here in light of the unacceptable and arbitrary detentions of Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor, and the arbitrary application of the death penalty against Robert Schellenberg. I'm sure I speak for all of us and all Canadians when I say that these cases are deeply disturbing and represent an egregious dismissal of the rule of law, and that our sympathy and support is with all the families involved. Nothing can be more significant than the safety and welfare of these Canadians, a point I know transcends any partisan lines. Now, based on the request in front of us today, on behalf of the committee, I've asked Global Affairs if Ambassador McCallum is available for a briefing. It's been indicated that he can do an in-camera briefing for the committee tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your strong words off the top. I appreciate that. I also appreciate the assistance in this request for the meeting today from the New Democratic Party. And it's an example, as you said, that concern for the families impacted transcends partisan politics. And I agree with your quote that we're all deeply disturbed by a situation that since early to mid-December has resulted in a very concerning escalation of retaliatory actions by China with respect to our relationship. So I would like to move, if your understanding is the ambassador is available, we would like to move to question the ambassador on the current situation and Canada's response tomorrow if he is available. My one request, Mr. Chair, would be that with thousands of Canadian families having questions about loved ones on the ground, about travel to China, that the appearance of the ambassador not be an in-camera session, that if there's certain information at the end of his briefing, we could go in camera for a portion of it. But I think Canadians, particularly those families contacting many of us as members of Parliament, need to hear directly about the response by Canada on the ground through Ambassador McCallum. So I would suggest that the first part of the meeting not be in camera, and then if there's a portion the ambassador wishes to restrict to an in-camera session, that we bifurcate the meeting that way.
Thank you. Madame Laverdière, please.
Oui, merci beaucoup, Monsieur.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. Obviously, I support this motion to have Ambassador McCallum here, and I also support the idea of having part of the session in public. I think it could be important to also have a part that's not public, because there may be more sensitive information that should be in camera, but we should have a public session as well. Thank you.
MP Vanderbilt.
I think if ever there is a time where this committee needs to have an extraordinary meeting and hear from our ambassador, this is one of those times. It is an extremely, extremely concerning situation. I know that I'm hearing from my constituents about it. I know that Canadians are very, very concerned. And I would echo the sentiment that this is not a partisan issue. I think every one of us here is the top priority for us is the safety of those Canadians who are detained. And I'm very pleased to hear that Ambassador McCallum is available tomorrow. My understanding is that he is available at 10 a.m. tomorrow. I do believe that this should be an in-camera meeting. I think that for us right now, the number one issue is the safety of the Canadians. And we know that this is very sensitive. The precedent on consular issues like this, particularly where there's so much implication that anything that is said could impact on the consular cases, is to have those hearings in camera. And certainly on security issues, we have had those meetings in camera. So I do believe that it is extremely important, particularly because Canadians are so concerned about this, that we be able to be open and frank with our ambassador and to be able to hear honestly what we are doing and what we can do as a parliamentary committee. So having said that, I do have an amendment to the motion. My amendment would read that the committee meet, and I would insert the words in camera, on January 18th, and I would insert at 10 a.m. for 1 hour to hear from the Canadian ambassador to China and consular officials on the state of affairs, and then the rest of the motion would remain the same. The officials I would not expect would be there to be answering or making statements. They would be there as a support in case there are technical questions that Ambassador McCallum would need that. So I think that the most of the time that we have, we would want to spend with Ambassador McCallum and hearing from him. I want to just reiterate that I think we are all equally concerned. It is not a partisan issue. It's a Canadian issue. And I know that Canadians are extremely concerned about this, as are we. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll have some debate on the amendment, and MP Lukwiski, you're up first.
Thank you very much. I just want to underscore what my colleague, Mr. O'Toole, had said about the need perhaps to have a portion, at least a portion of the meeting in public. I fully agree that there may be some issues that Mr. McCallum wishes to brief the committee on that are such that they should be discussed only in camera. There may be security concerns, there may be things that should be said only for the ears of this committee. However, I also believe that at the very least there should be a few opening statements, or at least one opening statement from the ambassador as to the current state as he sees it. After all, he is the Canadian ambassador to China. He apparently, or ostensibly, has the ears on the ground over in China. And I don't believe there's anything that he would be able to tell a committee that would breach any security protocols, because it's been widely reported. I mean, the media has been all over this story. We all know that, and that's why we're hearing so much in our own constituencies. I think Canadians, as Mr. O'Toole had said, would welcome at least a few words from Canada's ambassador to China on the current state of affairs without breaching any security protocols whatsoever. I think that this committee is all in agreement that if there are areas that Mr. McCallum wants to brief this committee on that are highly sensitive, that they should be in camera. That we have a committee in Parliament that deals with national security issues, and nobody knows anything what goes on within that committee because of the security provisions and protocols in place and the sensitivity around many of the issues that committee deals with. Well, I can understand the concern of this committee to have statements by Mr. McCallum in camera, but I honestly believe that there's at least something that he can say to give some assurances, perhaps, if nothing else, to Canadians that should be in public. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. MP O'Toole.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I take issue with the amendment suggesting the entire meeting should be in camera. I agreed with Ms. Vandenveld's suggestion that this is a Canadian issue, and so Canadians deserve to hear, at least at a preliminary basis, what the Canadian response on the ground has been. As Mr. Lukwiski has said, perhaps a statement by Ambassador McCallum outlining the situation, outlining Canadian actions with respect to the Canadians detained both on security and administrative grounds, perhaps one round of questions, and if there was information that he thought was sensitive, he could hold that for subsequent rounds that would be held in camera. I'd remind my Liberal friends on this committee that when the Prime Minister ran to seek the trust of Canadians, they ran on an open and transparent government. In fact, Bill C-613, Justin Trudeau's private member's bill in the last Parliament, set as a standard open government by default. Open by default. So I think the default position should be that we hear from Mr. McCallum and all Canadians hear a response from our ambassador on the ground so that families can get some reassurance on Canadian action. One round of questions from the three parties, and then the subsequent rounds to be held in camera. That will allow him to reserve sensitive information for the in-camera session. I think it's a very reasonable compromise here to make sure that Canadians, through their parliamentarians, can have assurances with respect to safety. And I would add, just this morning I responded to a Canadian who have said the travel advisory was changed, but their travel insurance cannot be activated unless there's another change to a travel advisory. So people are watching these things very carefully, and I think they need to hear from our ambassador, who's very well adept at appearing at committee. So perhaps that is a compromise out of the spirit of working together on this.
Madame Laverdiere.
Ms. Laverdiere.
Yes, thank you once again, Chair. Yes, I agree entirely. We should have a briefing session in camera that should last 1 hour, but I think we should also have something at the beginning where the ambassador could speak to us publicly in the spirit of transparency. And in fact, we could ask a series of questions. I'm not sure if there are any serious limits in terms of his time, but given the seriousness of this situation, I think it's important to take the time necessary that for Canadians and for us to allow the ambassador to answer his questions in camera as well. Thank you.
Merci. MP Fergus, please.
Merci beaucoup, monsieur.
Thank you very much, Chair. First, Happy New Year to all my colleagues around the table. We always also know that it's not necessarily a good year for some Canadians who are in these very difficult situations in China. Chair, I think this is an excellent initiative to ask the ambassador to come here to brief us, but we have to bear something in mind. The lives of Canadians are at stake here. It's very serious. And I think, given this reality, it's very important to take advantage of the ambassador's time with our committee in camera to make sure that we'll get all the necessary information. Something the ambassador could say publicly. Everything that he has already been able to say has been said. We don't need to hear it again here. We've had witnesses in that meeting. What we need is much greater detail. And this could have an impact on security. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Invoking 106.4 is done in extraordinary circumstances, especially when time is of the essence, and that clearly applies in these circumstances, but this is a particularly exceptional set of circumstances. And as my colleague Mr. Fergus has stated, Canadians' lives are at risk. There is a Canadian who faces the death sentence, and there are 2 Canadians incarcerated in the Chinese penal system. And I believe that it's absolutely important that representatives of the people, of the Canadian electorate, have an opportunity to be briefed so that Canadians can feel secure that we are in fact doing our jobs. However, nothing should be done to inadvertently put at risk Canadian lives and the well-being of Canadians in extremely difficult circumstances. And we all understand that at times, during committees, sometimes inadvertently things come out. We should err on the side of caution. Lives are at risk. Canadian lives are at risk. And to underline another comment of my colleague, Mr. Fergus, the ambassador, should he feel that it would be helpful in these cases, will have the opportunity to make public statements. But this is an opportunity for us as parliamentarians to be briefed directly so that we have a clear understanding of what's happening, so that Canadians can feel at ease that we are in fact doing everything that is absolutely possible to make sure that these Canadians who are at risk, whatever can be done is being done. Thank you.
Thank you. Madame Laverdiere.
Ms. Laverdiere. Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you for your patience to allow me to speak once again. But I'm having a hard time understanding what the problem is. My Liberal colleagues want to have a 1-hour briefing session in camera, and we all agree on that. No one has a problem with a 1-hour briefing session in camera. What we would like is to also have first a public session where we could even agree to not ask certain questions about consular cases because these are very sensitive and discrete files, but there could be issues such as travel, advisories discussed, or insurance, which are public issues. And we could ask questions on these public issues. Once again, I think this would be a service to the public, which is one of the ambassador's mandate, and it also reflects our role. And no one is against the idea of having a 1-hour in-camera session. We would just like to have a public session at the beginning. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to build on what my honorable colleague has just presented. There's no question that this is serious, and there's no question that there may be information that the ambassador can give us, and we are totally in agreement of having a portion of the meeting in camera. However, we also are parliamentarians that represent our constituents. They have come to our office asking us questions, and they expect us to have the opportunity to represent them and ask those questions of the Chinese ambassador, of the Canada's ambassador to China. And this is the opportunity that we have. That's what we have ambassadors for. That's why we have House of Commons committees. And so our responsibility is to have that debate and ask the questions that we, from our expertise and from our constituents, are charged with asking. If the ambassador can twice have these conversations publicly with CBC reporters who have the opportunity to ask him public questions, then members of Parliament should be afforded the same opportunity. And so that's why we believe absolutely there needs to be a portion that's in camera, but there also needs to be a portion where Canadians can hear that we're asking the questions they want asked as their federal government representatives in a state-to-state issue of this magnitude. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. MP O'Toole.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and to all of our colleagues for sharing. We won't belabor the point. It's clear the opposition is united in saying we understand and agree that a portion of the meeting should be held in camera, but we feel that Canadians deserve to have a portion where they hear from their ambassador in public, his statement, and perhaps a few questions. And look, the Honourable John McCallum is well regarded by all of us here. Before he was shuffled to that role, he'd always had an active interest in the Canada-China relationship. And I think this is probably the most tense time in that relationship, certainly in my parliamentary experience, but long before that. And as Minister McCallum, in his final speech in the House, colleagues, he alluded to the fact that there would be challenges in this relationship. In his farewell speech on his way to become ambassador to China, he said this, I quote, "However, when China and Canada have disagreed on something, and this sometimes happens, all three prime ministers I have served have drawn on this friendship to speak respectfully but frankly to their Chinese counterparts. I know this long tradition will continue," end quote. It seems like it's not continued, Mr. Chair, because the Prime Minister for a month and a half has refused to speak frankly and to leverage that friendship. So I think Canadians, to at least a limited extent, need to hear from Ambassador McCallum on his efforts on the ground, on decisions related to consular access to the two Canadians detained on security grounds, but also for the hundreds of families with questions about the visa status of their family members teaching or working in China. So I hope that this representation issue of our constituents weighs on my friends in the Liberal side, and they agree to a compromise to have part of this meeting held publicly and part in camera. That will be my final presentation on it.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion or debate on the amendment? Okay. Seeing none, we will call the question. Yeah, please continue.
I would just like to ask for a recorded vote on this, if I could, please.
Certainly.
So the motion, including the amendment, would read that the committee meet in camera on Friday, January 18th, 2019.
Separately on the motion and
The,
the amendments?
yes, this would be the motion as amended. So including the amendment because the wording is inside. Would you prefer that I read out just the words to be added, or would you prefer to have the motion in its entirety?
I think we should vote on the amendments.
Yes.
Where we will oppose and then vote to the motion as amended, but first vote
Yes.
on the amendment.
Yes. Okay, so for clarity, the amendment would be to add the words in camera after the words meet, and also add the words at 10 a.m. for 1 hour after the date, January 18th, 2019, and also to add the words and consular officials from Global Affairs after Canadian ambassador to China.
Okay, everybody's got an understanding of the amendment as read? Okay, please proceed.
Okay. Mr. Saini.
Yes.
Madame Fortier.
Oui.
Ms. Vandenbeld.
Yes.
Mr. Jesnevsky.
Yes.
Mr. Fergus.
Oui.
Mr. O'Toole.
No.
Ms. Alislev.
No.
Mr. Lukiski.
No.
Madame Laverdiere.
Okay, the amendment passes by 6 votes to 4. And we shall now move to the amended motion in its entirety.
The motion as amended would read that the committee meet in camera on Friday, January 18th, 2019 at 10 a.m. for 1 hour to receive a briefing from the Canadian ambassador to China and consular officials from Global Affairs on the state of affairs and his efforts with respect to Canadians detained in China on security or administrative grounds. Mr. Saini. Yes. Madame Fortier.
Oui.
Ms. Vandenbeld.
Yes.
Mr. Jesnevsky.
Yes.
Mr. Fergus.
Oui.
Mr. O'Toole.
Yes.
Ms. Alislev.
Yes.
Mr. Lukiski. Madame Laverdiere.
We
Agreed.
Okay, the amended motion passes unanimously. So with that, we shall adjourn and reconvene tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Thank you.